G'day, I'm Troy, and this is the Comic Book Movie Collector's Guide, the show about collecting all things superhero cinema. And today we're going to take a gander at Space Sentinels and the Freedom Force, the complete series on DVD. And we're going to try and answer the question, is this a super 70s cartoon or a Filmation flop? I don't know. What do you say we get into it? The Freedom Force is an animated superhero cartoon that was a segment of the Tarzan and Super 7 show that went for one season with a combined total of 5 episodes, each with a runtime of 11 minutes. It aired on the American CBS Network on the 9th of September 1978 through to the 6th of September 1980. The Space Sentinels is an animated superhero cartoon that went for one season with a combined total of 13 episodes, each with a runtime of 22 minutes. It aired on the American NBC Network on the 10th of September 1977 through to the 3rd of December 1977. Both cartoons were produced by Filmation and were released together as a complete collection on a 2-disc DVD set by BCI Eclipse on the 22nd of August 2006, with no Blu-ray or 4K HD as of this video. Space Sentinels was originally titled Young Sentinels and renamed midway through its only season to capitalise on the extreme popularity of the then recent released Star Wars. Okay, we have the case here, and as you can see, not a bad looking case, very striking. I like the look of it, and it's in that vein of these Filmation releases, very much like the He-Man and the Master Universe ones, which I have as well. As most of you have seen, I am a He-Man fan, and it's very similar to that. On the side there, not too bad, sticks out nicely on your case. You can see a bit of a thicker case as well, and on the back it's got all your bits and pieces and a few more drawings there. Not too bad at all. I do like the look of this one, I really do. Now, as you can see, the discs, they're double-sided. I'm not a fan of them at all. I would have preferred 4 discs as opposed to 2 with the double-sided, because it just doubles you. It literally doubles your chances of scratching the disc. So yeah, not a big fan of that at all. But comes with this great little booklet which covers all your episodes and all the special features and everything, which is a great little addition, which I like when they put with that sort of stuff with it. It looks really good. So overall, not too bad at all. I do like this one. So for that, I think I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. So, the premise for the Space Sentinels is 3 young Earth people were selected many centuries ago and teleported to another planet, where they were given eternal youth and superpowers. They were trained and then returned to Earth, where they were tasked with protecting the planet and its vicinity, which, when you think about it, sounds very similar to DC's Green Lantern Corps, don't you think?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Now, for the Freedom Force, this one's pretty simple and straightforward. It's just a superhero team gathered together by the heroine Isis from around the world to help fight evil. Yep, that is it. I suppose sometimes you just don't need an over-complex origin story.
Breathe, focus, keep it simple.
Both cartoons are very much, shall we say, of their time in style and scripts, with very formulated Filmation stories of the time. Freedom Force does have probably some little variation to it in the standard, but the Space Sentinels, unfortunately, does not. This cartoon is literally a paint by numbers 70 style stories that just use a checklist of like key points that fill in every story.
He's not a strong writer.
To watch it now, sure, it doesn't really hold up. But at the time, these were pretty run-of-the-mill stories to, pump out the cartoons. So there's nothing groundbreaking here, just a lot of 70s cartoon nostalgia. So look, with that, I'm going to give this a 12 out of 30. So look, neither of the shows are based off any comic book characters or stories, except for Isis, who Look, who was originally created by Filmation, but has since been written into DC Comics lore. Now, for the Sentinels, their characters were loosely based off Greek and Roman gods of mythology, whereas the Freedom Force, except for Super Samurai and Isis, were based off famous characters from literature from around the world. But both shows have a real diverse group of races and nationalities, with Filmation being one of those early adopters of portraying the message of inclusion and acceptance for these kids' shows.
It has so much diversity.
Now, as far as the animation goes, this is mid-70s Filmation at its best. It is okay, but there were times where it was really rough to watch, with it like mismatched cells and things like that. But you can kind of see, how can I say, the foundations of what they would become in the 80s when they were really at their peak with like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Literally and figuratively at my peak.
Now, as far as the voice actors go, I have the list up here, which for both shows, not a long list for both, but it's mostly 70s actors of the time and no one of real note. But they all did a pretty good job, you know, for what they had to work with. So, look, for this, I'm going to give this a score of 12 out of 20. Okay, this one is jam-packed with special features, which is great to see for a change, as most of what I've reviewed lately has had next to nothing. So, in this one, we have interviews with the creators of Space Sentinels and Freedom Force, The Magic of Filmation documentary, Young Sentinels audition tapes, model sheet gallery of Space Sentinels and Freedom Force, Young Sentinels gallery, Spanish language tracks for all 13 Space Sentinels episodes. You have DVD ROM features, which feature scripts for all 13 episodes of the Space Sentinels and 3 of the Freedom Force episodes, and trivia for both series.
Is that a lot?
That's a lot.
So, heaps there to see. Now, the Filmation doco was great, but I'd already seen that on my Master of the Universe DVDs, and there are heaps of interesting stuff there if you want to really deep dive into it with both shows. You know, with all the extras and origins and all that sort of stuff, a lot there for you to get through. So, look, the only score I could give this was a 9 out of 10. Now, the critic score, it came in at 0%, and the audience score was 0% for Space Sentinels and for Freedom Force. Oh well, as usual, Rotten Tomatoes has let me down. But IMDb to the rescue yet again, and they had a score of 6.8 out of 10 for Space Sentinels and a score of 7.7 out of 10 for Freedom Force. Now, I think both of these scores are pretty on par with some of what I've read online. More people like the Freedom Force than the Space Sentinels, which I have to say goes the same way for me as well. So look, if we round that up, we are going to get a score of 7 out of 10. So for me, I preferred the Freedom Force to the Space Sentinels. Even though there was only 5 episodes, I liked their team setup. It was a bit better with like more possibilities for more interesting stories. Plus, look, I remember as a kid watching this and I thought the Super Samurai was pretty cool.
He wasn't cool. He was?
There was one thing I found funny about the Freedom Force was Sinbad was all in through the intro, and he was like this key member of the team, and yet in total, yes, I counted it, across the 5 episodes he appears for a total of 20 seconds, and that's not just one episode, that's across a couple. So not exactly the key member of the team that the intro kind of said.
Who is this guy?
Now, for the Space Sentinels, I found this very boring and repetitive. It was, oh God, it was a real struggle to get through all the episodes. And look, as I mentioned before at the start of this video, it was renamed to cash in on Star Wars that had just come out and was hugely popular. And for me, therein lies the problem with the show, as it didn't really know what it wanted to be at times. A space opera, a superhero show, or a fantasy tale. It was just a weird mix of everything. And you have no clear direction, and then of course you just get lost, you know, and that's what's happened here. So look, I'm going to give this a score of 11 out of 20. So, First up is Collectibility, and if we look at the collector scale, I would say this would be for your completist collector, or maybe your 70s kid for the nostalgia value. Otherwise, look, there's really not much here for anyone else, as there's just really no rewatch value here. And look, if you're keen to see it, you can watch all of the episodes for both shows here on YouTube. Now, as far as availability goes, this one's in your rare side of things, as this is out of print and you can really only find a few copies for sale on your second-hand markets like eBay. As far as your average price goes, you are looking at somewhere between $75 up to $130. So not real cheap there at the high end for the DVD set, and there's nothing for Blu-ray or 4K HD as of this video. Now, for the final score, we get a grand total of 59 out of 100. Now that's not a bad score for a duo of Filmation cartoons from the 70s that were, well, let's just say it never really hit with the kids at the time. So look, we asked the question, is this Super 70s cartoon or a Filmation flop? This was, well, okay, I can't really make it any more excitable. This was really in the middle. It wasn't a hit, but it wasn't terrible either. It was very much, say, a Filmation standard of the 70s.
That came from a different place, a different time.
So, if you like that video, I've got some more reviews right there for you. Or maybe you want to see some of my collection updates. I've got you covered too. And of course, on your way out, don't forget to do the most important thing. Throw me a bat light. Don't forget to hit that subscription button. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.